everyone, I'm Sal Sankata, and welcome to this month's Q&A with questions from you, our readers. Let's get started. First question, any tips on relocating with a non-studio based business? Of course, anytime you've got to relocate, you face the challenge of starting over, and it can seem like a daunting task. My advice to you is to get started as quickly as possible. And this would hold true whether you have a studio or don't have a studio. And what do I mean by that? So you've got to start almost like having an ahead team, right? Just like the President of the United States, he's got an ahead team. That team is in the city ahead of him, getting ready with preparations. You've got to have the same kind of mindset. You've got to start looking to that new city, start reaching out to vendors, start making connections, start some local marketing and advertising, and it can be as simple as doing things on Facebook. And so those are the kind of things I would do to get started in looking ahead, so that when you hit the ground, you're hitting the ground running versus reacting to everything. Because if you wait till you get there, you run the risk of 3 months to 6 months with no income whatsoever, because you're too busy trying to scramble and reestablish your business and those vendor connections. All right, next question. What's the best way to add albums to your products you offer in your studio to increase your value? The best way to add albums to your product line is to just add them, right? That's the best way to do it. You got to get started. Now, I will tell you that for us, we have great success because albums are built into our packages. No bride is walking out of our studio without albums built into their packages. This becomes incredibly important with that. So you want to have it built in, and it makes it a no-brainer. If you're forcing clients to do it as an add-on, then things start becoming extremely challenging because, well, it's an add-on, so they don't necessarily need it, or they don't feel like they need it, or they can wait and do it at a later date. So whether we're talking families, babies, high school seniors, and of course weddings, albums are built into this product line. So very, very important to do it that way. Next question. I have no idea how to shoot the last part of a wedding day, and I feel like my images always look underwhelming from the reception. What advice do you have for using on-camera flash at receptions? Well, this question is probably at the crux of most photographers' panic on a wedding day. The minute that flash comes out, many aspiring photographers will panic to get things to look the right way. The one way you don't want it to look like is it was shot in a tunnel, right? Dark tunnel, everything's black, and then boom, just giant spotlight on the photographer, on the couple or your client, right? Seniors, families, babies. So at the end of the day, what you've got to do is get out there and practice. My advice to you is to go into your home, into your living room, just turn on some lamps or something, put a can of soda on the table, and try and light it with your flash. Try bouncing the flash off the ceiling, try bouncing the flash off the wall behind you, try firing the flash straight at it, and find what looks and feels right. Now, let me give you some advice. Your starting settings, here's what they should be. What mine are the minute I walk in the room. They are ISO 800, 4.0, 1/60th of a second for the shutter speed. That is my starting settings, and I start adjusting from there. And what I'm adjusting is how much I'm dragging the shutter. And if you don't know what that term means, look it up, right? Google it. And so we're going to drag the shutter to control the amount of ambient light that's leaking in versus the flash, okay? So the flash is going to light your subject, but then if you want that mood lighting, we've got to drag the shutter to let in all that warm light from the room, assuming there is something in there. It could be candlelight, it could be wall sconces. I mean, it could be literally anything. Good question, though. I always end up panicking when things don't go according to the process I've set. What do you do for creatives if the weather is bad, and how do you stay calm in situations so that your client can't see your internal freak out? We've all had that internal freak out, by the way, and it just reminds me of a story. So very, very early on in my career, we were sitting, me and Taylor were photographing a wedding, and click, 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 and then all of a sudden I hear this click and just rattle, 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 rattle. So Taylor comes up to me in my ear while we're shooting the guys getting ready. I'll never forget. And she whispers in my ear, and she's like, I think we have a problem. And she just rattles the camera, and I can hear basically the mirror had disconnected in there, right? So I told her, I go, stay calm, just keep pointing the camera like you're taking pictures until we can look at this. Now, hindsight, my client would have totally understand if one of the cameras had busted, and I don't know why, but my internal freak out was going on, right? So stay calm, relax, take a deep breath, right? So when things are going crazy for me, I take a deep breath and just start going into problem-solving mode. Now, if you're curious how that particular story ended, we had to drive to the gas station as we were switching locations for the guys to the girls. We bought some crazy glue, glued in the mirror, and life was good for the rest of the event. So we were fine. What are some of the top products you sell for engagement and post-wedding sales? Top products for engagements are a little bit different than post-wedding. So for engagements, the one thing we're selling are the engagement guest book. This is where people can sign the book with their name, leave words of wisdom. So that's really, really a popular item. An engagement album is also very popular. These are 12 by 12 books that we get from Bay Photo. And these are on like a pearl or pearl type paper that we're selling our clients in a photo cover. So that's probably at the engagements, that's one of the more popular items that people love. And then post-wedding, the number one thing we're offering are these upgrades to our Signature Collection albums. So if you've never looked at Signature Collection albums, visit their site, scalbums.com, and look at the New York collection. This is our top-of-the-line album, and that's our number one item for clients in the post-wedding. So keep that in mind. What are a few ideas to take your client experience to that next level? I want to do more for my client without going broke in the process. Hey, this is a never-ending battle. If you want to wow your client, you've got to constantly do things that are bigger and better. And it can be just simple branding things, right? So, for example, how are you delivering the digital files to your clients? We're all delivering digital files in some form or fashion. It can be video, it can be a slideshow, it can be their digital negatives. How are you delivering that? Are you delivering it on a DVD? My God, I hope not come this day and age. You got to look to a site called photoflashdrive.com. They have all sorts of branding material where you only have to buy one. You don't have to buy, 100 of them to get a reasonable price point on them. So these are the kind of things to keep in mind. These are what we do to take that client experience to the next level. But how about a thank you card after the wedding, handwritten thank you card? It doesn't have to be a wedding. How about a thank you card just after the client shoot? Send them a handwritten thank you card on nice linen cardstock paper. How about when they come in for their preview, having a bottle of wine? How about when a client books your top package, you're sending them a thank you gift that's a bottle of wine? These are the kind of things you can do that aren't going to make you broke. You might, if you're looking at a $50 bottle of wine is making you broke, you're never going to get it, man. I'm sorry to tell you, $50 in the big scheme of things is nothing when you're trying to create a client experience. That's pretty damn cheap. If you think about how much it costs for client retention and for that client to go out there and talk highly about you and their experience with you, I'd give my client a $50 bill if that was going to help. So keep that in mind. I can get a bride to come to my booth at bridal shows, but can never get any contracts actually signed at the show. Any tips on the art of the close? Yeah, best tip I can give you, ask for the business. Point blank. I go right to them after I've done my pitch. If I'm getting a sense that they're interested, what I tell them is point blank, hey guys, once you know you want to work with us, that's obviously the most important thing. Lock in the date, and then we can always come back around and pick a package later. That is my close, right? I don't want to get into all these like sales techniques and things that just seem like used car salesmen. I want to do something that's just real simple, to the point. Hey, if you want to work with me, I want to work with you. Let's sign contract. We can always pick a package at a later date. That is my close, and we're typically closing 3 to 4 weddings at the show, let alone what's leaking in after the event. So again, keep that in mind. All right, next question. Last question. Going back to basics here, but I'm just starting out in the wedding photography world. How do you determine the cost of goods for your studio so that you're running a profitable business? Great question. Something all photographers seem to struggle with is the business side of things. Man, when it comes to making pretty pictures, you guys get it. But when it comes to like running an actual business, you're an absolute mess. Look, in my packages, I like to keep cost of goods to below 20%. That's hard product cost. Got to be below 20%. So what does that mean? That means if I'm charging $2,000 or $999 for my base package, at $999 for my base package, I cannot allow an album in there that's $400. It doesn't exist. So at $999 for my base package, max cost of goods, all the product that's in there has to be no more than $200. That's on the high end. So you've got to throw in things that are time related, right? Things like a slideshow. That's why I love sticky albums. Things like, sticky apps and albums I like for their iPhone app, right? So this is something we deliver to our clients in the album. There's value add. When it comes to actual slideshows, right, we're using photo decks, ProShow Web, right? These are the kind of things we want to deliver to our clients that have perceived value, but don't necessarily have a whole bunch of hard cost to them. The one thing in your wedding package, if you will, that's going to have a true hard cost is going to be the album. So you've got to price accordingly And if you use that that model of less than 15 to 20%, you will remain profitable, I promise you. So thanks for joining us this month for Q&A. If you've got some questions, make sure you're submitting them to us at info@behindtheshutter.com, and we'll be sure to get to them for next month's article.